So, good morning and welcome, everyone. You are, if you didn't realize it already, you have tuned in to CSL Ukiah's virtual Sunday service, and I am Reverend Candice Becket. And I just want to welcome you all here today. I'm so happy that you chose to take time to be with us. And know that not only is your physical presence welcome, but your soul is welcomed here. It's so exciting, and I know that somewhere during this service, whether it's in the treatment or the music or the message, that you're going to receive exactly what your heart, your soul desires. So just prepare for that and sit back and prepare to receive. So our opening treatment today will be given by Victoria Wright. So Victoria, unmute yourself and take it away.
Good morning. Oh, it's been quite a whirlwind and a lot of smiles over this holiday. And as we approach the end of this year and the beginning of next year, let's expand our consciousness. Yeah, take a breath and let it out slowly. Drop your shoulders. Infinite mind is everywhere present. It's present in me and in you and in everything we see and touch and do. And today we can release all the pickles, except the ones we like, all the things that have been uncomfortable leading up to right now. We can release our emotional reactions to those things and be filled with the magnificence of the love and light, the power, the joy, the peace, the beauty of all, because it is all within us right at this moment. We are right at the beginning again of a great new future, of a great day. We breathe in love and we breathe out joy. We breathe in peace. We breathe out calm. We breathe in love again. Breathe out the newness, the possibilities, the greatness that is the life we live. From way down in the tiniest molecule of the littlest cell in our bodies and beings, we pour forth that spirit that connects us with all the universe and with each other. We accept these wonderful things into our being. Each one of us is full and flowing with the majesty of God, that universal being that is what we are, everywhere present, always fulfilling. And because we can do this, we give great thanks. Great thanks for everything, for all the love and joy, for the support of this being, and for the quickness with which it already knows everything we need and is manufacturing and manifesting it right now in our lives, in our community, in our center. And so we can relax and release and let go and know that it is already so. And so it is.
So thank you.
We're-
Really beautiful. And so now we're going to have an opening song by Mary Buckley. So, Mary, your turn.
This song is called Noli Timere. I mean, it's a Latin phrase. It means don't be afraid. And I think of it as kind of a New Year's type of song because if you have resolutions that might be kind of scary or you think you can't do something, don't be afraid. So. The angel came to the biblical character and said, "Be not afraid. Fear can keep you from dangerous things." The angel said, "But it's dangerous things from which sometimes a greater life is made." Noli timere, noli timere, noli timere. Be not afraid. What lies beyond fear? Fear can save your life sometimes, but sometimes it's a waste. If it only keeps those angels out beyond arm's length. So listen to their voices if you want your life to change. Noli timere, noli timere, noli timere. Be not afraid. What lies beyond fear? Kuan Yin guards the gates of pain and kindness, the gates of holding on and letting go. She gently draws the clearest line that I can safely stand behind until I'm ready to step out and go beyond. Sadness, fear, and pain, and hurt and worry hide in deep, dark places I can't see until I cross that boundary into a place of empathy and find the scary things a part of me and not beyond. So whether you hear the voice of God in a bush or in your head, don't hesitate, don't meditate, don't ask it what it said. Don't run and jump in bed and pull the sheet over your head. Noli timere, noli timere, noli timere. Be not afraid. What lies beyond fear? Be not afraid.
Oh, that was beautiful, Mary. Perfect for today. So the topic today is, so now what? think we are all in agreement that 2020 has been a pretty remarkable year, and we are being asked to move forward into a new time, a new year, maybe a new era. So how do we do that, and what holds us back? It's kind of what we're looking at today. Years ago, I mean literally probably 20, maybe plus years ago, I heard Michael Beckwith. It was the first time I'd ever heard him speak. And it was at an Asilomar conference. And he told a story about a man standing in a circle. And I don't remember the exact story, but I do remember the lesson really well because it impacted me so much. And basically it was about that we've all drawn a circle and we're standing in it. And the circle is of our own creation. The circle is everything that we already know or that we think we know. But for some reason, even if it's uncomfortable, it's known. So there he stands, there we stand. So it's time for us to look at, is that where we want to be standing? And what to do if for some reason we find it lacking. There's a great biblical story that actually shows up 3 times in the Bible. The versions are close, but they're all a little different. Basically, the story is what happens immediately after the feeding of the 5,000, the Sermon on the Mount. And Jesus is trying to go to their next stop, which he and the disciples are going to be taking a boat across a lake, a big lake. And there is a storm brewing, but the crowd is still just, how crowds are, wanting more. And so he tells the disciples to get on the boat and to start, that he'll join them later. And he disperses the crowd. He goes up onto the hill and prays for a while. Depending on the story, they're not real clear about how long. But it is long enough for the disciples in their boat to be 2-3 miles into the lake. And when Jesus goes back to the edge of the lake, the storm is coming up, and he can see that the disciples are really struggling to try to control the boat. So Jesus, being Jesus, walks out onto the water towards the boat. And he's doing just fine. At first, when the disciples see this thing, this apparition as far as they know, coming across the water to them, they think it's a ghost. And they're frightened. And so Jesus calls to them and says, "It's me, don't be afraid, it's me." To which they kind of calm down. But Peter, once he recognizes that this is Jesus, well, he wants to go to him. So he steps out of the boat and starts walking on the water. The other disciples are kind of like, "Are you crazy? You're going to drown. You'll die. What are you doing?" But he goes anyway. But those doubts do creep in. And before he gets to Jesus, he starts to sink. And so Jesus sees him, and Peter is calling to him, "Help me, don't let me die here." And Jesus says to him as he approaches, "O ye of little faith, why did you doubt?" And he reaches down and takes his hand and he lifts him out of the water, and the two of them go and get onto the boat. The storm calms, and off they go to their next meeting place. So I love this story because part of it for me is actually to be courageous. You actually have to do something. You can't just stay in the boat. You can't just stay in your circle. So one of the first things is get out of the boat, step out of the circle. But I also want you to remember that the boat, the circle, whichever, we're going to stick with boat. It's just easier just to one. When you get out of the boat's not necessarily bad. it's what we've built to navigate ourselves through life. And I know that I've seen some pretty impressive boats in my life. I've also seen a lot of dinghies, but you can kind of tell the boat or the circle that a person has created for themselves. And the point is, the boat, no matter how wonderful, how awful, how mundane it is, it's a limited experience. It can only take you to that one point, and then it can't get you any further. Something else has to happen. So I really think, particularly at New Year's, that we consider that it's time to get out of the boat. So why do we stay in the boat? For me, this is partly about guarding the past, and partly it's because our past, even if it's been uncomfortable and we know it's not serving us anymore, we can use it for justification for why we're the way we are, and point out that, well, and I'll get back to this, but it's one of those, it's the way it's always been, and I'm sticking to it. But sometimes we don't even have the slightest idea why we get stuck in the past. And I have an example about that. And I read this kind of in a believe it or not kind of article, so I can't swear that's 100% true. But when I went looking, I did find it very possibly this did happen. So we're around, 1859, 1860. And we're at a royal palace in Russia. And at this royal palace, the Tsar is in attendance at this moment, and he's walking through the gardens, and he noticed that there's this sentry posted kind of off in a far corner, and he doesn't see any reason for that sentry to be there, to be stationed there. So the Tsar approaches the sentry and asks, "Why are you standing here?" And the sentry answers, "Because I was ordered to." So the Tsar doesn't just give up there. He goes to the captain of the guard and he asks the captain, "Why do you have a sentry out there? I don't see any reason." And the captain says, "Regulations call for a sentry at that spot all the time." And so the Tsar was still not quite ready to accept that, so he had some people do some research, and the answer was that Catherine the Great, who had been a ruler like 100 years previously, had planted a rose bush in that corner and had ordered a sentry placed there to keep it from being trampled. Well, the rose bush had been gone for, like I said, close to 100 years, but the sentry was still there. So I've spent some time in the last few days, and I'm going to encourage you to consider the question, how many of us are guarding dead or long gone roses? And it's true that at one time that it was beautiful and it gave us pleasure, but if it's gone, it's gone. And it may feel appropriate or comfortable, but it really is no longer suitable for us to be standing there guarding it or striving for it to be something that it no longer is. I know I also was looking at what I call hand-me-down beliefs, that are things that came to me, through parents, teachers, well-intentioned friends, or sometimes just random comments, but I heard them and I heard them as truth, even though they weren't my truth. These are hand-me-downs, and sometimes a hand-me-down belief can already be worn so thin even before they came to us. And so that's why it's really important to look at what we're thinking about and look at what our beliefs are. Because what happens is sometimes we just hold on to them. We hold them really tight. And that's when we come up with that this is the way it's always been. And so I'm sticking to it. And I guess there maybe is a little bit of charm in trying to live from a place that at one point did work for us or maybe someone else, and we saw that and we want it to be true. But sometimes when I hear in my head that, well, this is the way it's always been, or this is the way they've always been, or this is the way I've always been, I also hear this other teacher who used to say quite often, so how's that working for you? So what is it that we're believing in that really isn't working for us? The question is, are those beliefs that we're holding on to, are they moving us forward? Because our beliefs are what are creating our life right now. If you want to know what you believe, take a look around you and go, oh, no, what? This is what I believe. This is what is happening. But before you get too annoyed with yourself, I have something else. This is a quote from James Golden that it's important also to remember. And James once said, one of the greatest truths that religious science teaches is that we need not be fearful or ashamed of the actual facts of our life. We realize that everything works for a greater good. I know for some of you, some really difficult, challenging experiences have happened in your life, and particularly I don't think that any of us have been not affected by the things that have been going on in 2020. But it is really important that we embrace the fact that this too moves me forward. This too is here for a reason. And I sometimes get really annoyed with that because if I don't see the reason, and I just want to know why these things are happening. But what I do know is that my life has been shaken this year. And I'm going to start looking at that deep realization that the world is going to evolve. And so my beliefs, your beliefs, need to expand, need to be creative in a direction that is meaningful for us. I was talking to someone about this just a couple of days ago. And my hesitancy there was like, oh, do I really want to go here? Yeah, I do. And they said, but I'm just one person, and even if we talk about our group here in Ukiah, we're so small, how can we possibly change the world? So, first of all, we're not that small. And I remember as a kid growing up and having teachers talk about you and God is a majority. That it doesn't matter what the rest, if you can align yourself with the greatest truth of the universe, you change everything. And we've seen that happen with many great spiritual leaders throughout our history, so we know that it's true. But I also want us just in the present day to think again. There was a book written in 2000, and the title of the book was Cultural Creatives. And I think about that time I did talk about cultural creatives and what they were and how they were impacting the world. And cultural creative, basically, they want to impress and change culture creatively. But in order to be a cultural creative, that means that part of you has to be willing to release those long-held, cherished beliefs and move on to something greater. So cultural creatives are also seriously focused on spirituality with a strong passion towards social activism. They're forward thinkers, and they show up in every field, not just religions, but in science communities and art communities. You see cultural creatives start to just blossoming, where they're doing things that it feels like, wow, no one has ever looked at it that way before. Nobody's ever tried that before. So without them, we're very stuck. But then suddenly, and I think it was actually in the late 80s, this idea that we could create a new culture, we could have impact, started to bubble up. And so by the time this book was written in 2000, they stated that there were approximately 50 million adults in the United States, which would have been about a quarter of the US adult population, and then another 80 to 90 million adults in Europe who would classify themselves as cultural creatives, which I thought that was really great, because that's way too many people to crucify. That there's this forward thinking being established all over the world. But I wanted, because that's 20 years ago, so I thought, I wonder if there's any updates. So I went looking, and yes, in fact there are. And in 2016, which was the most recent article I could find, there was an article published in the Huffington Post that referred to this book, but also was giving updates on it. And in that article in 2016, they were estimating that by 2020, so right now, the cultural creatives could be over half of the adult American population, and the numbers in Europe and the rest of the world have also significantly grown. In other words, there are literally hundreds of millions of cultural creatives across the globe. And I know that as we go about our individual work, it may feel really lonely, but then I think about that fact, and as lonely as I might feel sometimes when I'm trying to break out of old patterns and do something new and something creative, I only have to think about the rest of the cultural creatives on the planet, and I recognize that I am not alone, even in the physical sense of the world. We know we're never alone because we're always in the embrace of a loving, intelligent presence, God. But this is something else. We are surrounded on this planet. It's time for us to start looking for each other. It's pretty easy this morning. Here we are, this group. But I just want to invite you, because it is time to stop guarding the past and look at where we want to stand in the truth. So something occasionally blocks our view. But I found this one quote, don't know who wrote it, but I loved it, and it spoke to me about that. And the quote is this: "It isn't about what I see out the window, it's about what I bring to the window." So what are you bringing to the window? What are you ready to share, to show to the rest of the world? What I know is we can take these last few days of 2020 and reflect, not on just what did or didn't happen to you, to me, but the general direction that we want, I want, you want to see. What general direction are we going? Is it a way that you want to go? If not, how do you, we change it? How do we enhance it? So once we have reflected, then we decide, this is where I want to go. Now, decide is very different than wishing. Wishing it could be this way or that way. Thinking of, wouldn't it be nice if, isn't really going to make it. But a decision, an intention, a strong intention, that changes the world. That changes us individually one at a time, but the second we change, it adds to a greater intention for the planet, for life in general. So ask yourself, what's my intention? And this is probably my favorite New Year's ritual. And so this is, I'm inviting you. I do this every year. If you've been with me the Sunday before a new year ever, you've heard me talk about this, but I find it extremely powerful. And what we do is, in the place you live, you work, whatever, write down what you don't want to. So I could do this at my home, and I just write a list of the things I don't want to take with me into the new year. And then I take it outside. I like doing it on New Year's Eve. I take it outside on New Year's Eve, and I rip it up, I bury it, I burn it, but somehow I destroy it outside. And so there's symbology there. It's really powerful to do it at your workplace. And I've even done it in relationships. I've thought about particular relationships and thought, what don't I want to take into this relationship any further? And so I get this list and I take it outside and I destroy it. Then on New Year's Day, I actually go outside and I spend, some time kind of journaling, but just making a list of what I do want to experience in 2021. And this can be anything from very personal to kind of the broader, I would like to see greater equality within the United States and the world as far as race and religion is concerned. But you just write it all down, and then you take it inside and you put it somewhere where you can see it. Now there's a couple of ways to do that. And for those of you who worked on the covenant for the new minister for the church, that sheet, you do kind of the same thing, but you just do it for yourself. So it's very positive, and it has great affirmations about what your intention is for 2021. And then the couple of ways you can, if it's a list that is easy to read, you can just stick it up somewhere in where you'll see it every day. And even if you don't read the complete thing every day, it's enough that it just reminds you that I have set an intention for my life to look different, to start to branch out into a more loving, peaceful, whatever the words are for you, place. You can also just stick it in an envelope and put 2021 intentions and put it somewhere so it's just smaller, but you put it somewhere where you'll see it. Again, the reminder is there. And then sometime in this week, next year, you open it and see what happened. See what parts of that progressed for you. It's just a really wonderful thing. But part of the reason I do that is because I know that it is what I am setting up within my heart, within my mind, that is going to create the change. If I wait for somebody else, something else to do it, then I'm just going to wait. I'm just going to be standing in that circle, guarding something that isn't there. So Emerson said, what lies behind us and what lies before us is small matter when compared to what lies within us. So that's it. Let's look at what is within us. And I just recognize with me right now that it all begins with intention. So what do you intend? What do you intend for your life in 2021? So take a deep breath. And just relax into wherever you are right now as we move into our treatment. And I'll give you about a minute. So if someone would like to, if you would like to put a treatment request in the chat, I will add that into the treatment. So, and it's fine if, I'm just going to do a treatment now. So if you want something else in there, let me know. So another deep breath, and enter with me into the silence. So know with me right now that God is all there is. Right here, right now, in this time of reflection, celebration, and release, we begin by recognizing that even with everything that we may have gone through, with everything that may have been given, that what we are doing right here and right now is our opportunity to move forward. We are encouraged to open up even more to the beauty of the divine that is being made manifest in every life. And it is the perfect time to honor the power and the presence of God in everyone and everything. Since there is nothing outside of the infinite loving presence, we take this opportunity to bless the human condition, to recognize that in this group there is a collective consciousness that is beginning to expand, and see the potential and embrace it as so. For we know that where two or more are gathered, there is great power. What an honor it is to transmit love to all that are suffering, fatigued, in war, in prison, homeless, food deprived, depressed, mentally challenged. We hold them with a new intention, with a greater love, with a sense of well-being that is the birthright of everyone. I am so grateful that Spirit is right now responding to this treatment. What a beautiful time to lift up ourselves, and in doing so, uplift the planet, humanity, the animal kingdom, the plant world, the water world, and every circumstance being revealed. Together, we call forth health, we call forth peace, we call forth humane leadership, we call forth authentic clarity, we call forth and celebrate our oneness with all on every level, for every person. We call forth a world that works for everyone. What a time to stand in gratitude for the gifts that have been delivered from the invisible to the visible, and the opportunity to express more love. And so in this awareness, I also know for every individual on this call today that there is an intention building and that greatness is being revealed. And I speak my words specifically for Andrew, recognizing that for him right now, the power of healing is 100% flowing through his body, every gene, every muscle, every joint, every bone, and that he is healing perfectly to be filled with energy and to be able to move exactly as he wants. And so as I release this treatment, Thanksgiving fills my heart. And I give thanks for the ending of 2020, as I also recognize it as a time of healing, expansion, and the recognition of truth. I simply exhale and allow the divine to have its way. I stand in an expectation of good, and I stand in the blessings that now flow in extraordinary way to all beings everywhere, known and unknown, seen and unseen, great and small. For together we know the truth. All beings are God. And I let this be so. And so it is. So another deep breath. So we move from that message to our collection. And so most of you know this spiel by now, but thank you so much for your willingness to make sure that the center continues to thrive and that we continue to expand and grow. So there are, you also know, 3 ways to give to the church. One is you can write a check, send it to the church. It works beautifully. You can add us to your bill pay if you use a banking system that has such a thing, or you can use PayPal, and you can get to PayPal through our website at cslukaya.org, and there's a button on that page for giving donations. But for right now, let's say our offering affirmation together. Oops, sorry about that. That's our house phone. So, okay, offering affirmation together. It goes like this. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies this gift. With all my heart and with all my mind, I know I am saying yes to something I value. With all others present here, we dedicate these gifts to the values and vision we share. So it is. So we do have a couple of announcements. I know that most of you here are getting the newsletter, which, yay. I just want you to know that I have now been attaching just right at the bottom of the newsletter a form to fill out for our 2021 Intentional Giving Program. So this is probably as important as it's ever been, because it's really helpful for the board to know what can be expected as far as income is concerned over the next year, and therefore plan accordingly. That form also helps us identify members, because there's a place on it that you can check if you consider yourself a member of the center. And in about a month, we'll be having an annual meeting, and there is some important decisions to be made. There's, approving the board, and we may have other people stepping forward for board positions, so we definitely need you for that. But we're also going to be discussing kind of what 2021 looks like right now and what we would like for it to look like. So your input is really important. In order for us to move forward, we need to move forward together. So please take a moment and fill that form out. That way you can return it via email to the center, but you can also, if you're more comfortable printing it out and filling it out, then you can mail it or drop it by the center, and just so we know. Which brings me to 2021 annual meeting that is going to be on January 24th. I think that it's probably going to be easiest for us if we just do it right after service, and we can take a little break, like we can, everybody can run off and get a bite to eat, use the restroom, whatever it feels, like you want to do. But we can take 10 or 15 minutes and then just come back and start the meeting. But like I said, it's really important that you be there. And if for some reason you can't come to the service, but you can come to the meeting, it would still be the same login on that we have for the Sunday services. So take that opportunity and write that on your calendar. It will be great. Also, Teresa, I don't think is on today, but Teresa has made the offer to be the collection point for things for the homeless shelter here in town. And over the last few years, we've done quite a bit. And I know last week she said one of the things they really need are disposable coffee cups, because they don't have a way to wash coffee cups. But paper towels, blankets, personal supplies, socks, anything like that, they would be more than happy. And Teresa, if we can get them to Teresa's home, she'll be happy to take them down to the shelter. So please do consider that. And so that's really it I've got for today. So we're about to close, and we're going to have Mary Buckley sing us out. And then if you would like to stay on, we'll have a little bit of time to visit. But for right now, Mary, take it away.
This is a song I wrote last year, basically for the holidays and the season. Yeah. Fuzzy blankets, fleecy jackets, sleet and sleep and puddles galore. This time of year, darkness is near, and I'm wanting nothing more. Winter wraps us in her arms, wet and cold and dry and warm. Joy and tears shared with those who are near, rounding the corner of the year. Dancing and stillness, hunger and fullness, cocoa and gingerbread, eggnog and pies, fires and candles, lights of all colors, filling the heart under darkening skies. Winter wraps us in her arms, wet and cold and dry and warm, joy and tears shared with those who are near, rounding the corner of the year. Sometimes I feel the ancient fear, the warmth and the light will be gone. Animals hibernate, humans slow down and wait, singing to bring back the sun. Winter wraps us in her arms, wet and cold and dry and warm, joy and tears shared with those who are near, rounding the corner of the year.
Thank you so much, Mary, and thank you, Victoria. You've added so much to my morning, and I'm sure everyone else here. And just thank you all for being here and being a part of our time together. I so appreciate it. I love you all. Namaste.